Relax, take it easy.
Here comes a new challenger!
Do shit. It's long, bro. Fuck that.
Are we,
Even taking pictures post-workout, sometimes, say I'm training back, right? And I'm like, oh, my back's like, let's say 2 exercises in, I'm like, oh, my back's really pumped. Maybe I should take some pictures now because you know, so it's not, so you don't lose that pump, right? So you do that and then you lose the focus for the workout. It's not, yeah.
Am I the only one who thinks they look worse when they're really pumped? Like, I used to do that, then I realised my photos look better. Like, once I finish the session, chill out for like 5-10 minutes and then take the photos. It's like, I don't know why, I can move a little bit more freely. There's less blood in the muscle.
I usually, if AJ wants a post-workout posing video, I've never really took them before apart from this one, and they always look better. I will usually finish my workout, do 10 minutes on the stepper, just to, sorry, not the stepper, on the treadmill, just to, and then I'll go and take them. Otherwise, I can't pose properly anyway. I'm too stiff, too pumped.
Yeah.
Lads, shall we talk about Hilly show then? That's we just done on the weekend.
Yeah, give us a recap.
So, let me run through. It was, well, first the recap. The show was mega. I had a fucking great day. Coming second, the kid that beat me, I used to actually coach, called Ethan. Kid's got loads of potential. He was in much better shape than he's been before. He went on to win the overall. He still needs to be leaner. Kid's got a lovely physique. Spoke to one of the judges afterwards and he just said, simply, he's got better chest development, better delt development, obviously because of my torn pec. So that is life for me, something I always accept, you know. It's bodybuilding. People are always like, for you in better condition, you should have won. That isn't bodybuilding. I've got a missing fucking pec, do you know what I mean? And that restricts my upper body training. So I understand why I was beat bodybuilding. But for me, it was an early show. It gave me a chance to see what AJ does. It gave me a chance to get a bit of stage time. We only decided on it the week before. It was my best look on stage. The condition was awesome. So all of that was a win. My daughter was there, my mum, Charles, my mates, Riz and D came, and the cameraman, Riz D, fucking nailed my tan. The effort they made was off it. It was such an enjoyable fucking day. And one of the good things about the Nabbas is, because they're regionals, you only compete against people from your area, which means that you know everybody there, you know everybody in the crowd, so they're good social events. So it was an awesome day. It wasn't stressful. I had 2 clients competing. Andy came second. He maybe should have been first, but the kid was
should have been first.
The kid that won was big. Andy was in better condition, so it's tit for tat. Stephen came fourth, I think, which was right. He needs to be leaner. And they messed up the pump and the timing a little bit, but it was an awesome day. And then,
I tell you what, lads. I've been to a lot of shows. Yeah, that's probably one of my favourite shows because do you know normally there's just loads of seats there. You know what it's like, seats on seats, and you go into these arenas, you can't even eat your food, you can't sit down. If you want to go out, you got to it's just long. It was nice and open. It was like a fucking boxing match.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Round tables everywhere, so your mum and dad, whatever, can all sit around. If you've got a push chair, it comes straight in. The doors are nice and big. They've got a little pub there, you can get your drink, and there's a little food bar doing snacks. Mate, it's just so fucking easy, bro.
Very social, very relaxed.
Did Arlene have like a foam hand for her dad? Like on Gladiator?
Yeah, she's dancing, bro.
And she was dancing about in that Arlene, and she loved it, mate. There's kids all over. They're making a big social event, which is really nice. Yeah. I just hope that they manage to revive Nabba because it's got so much prestige. And the calibre of athletes, like my lineup was mega. There wasn't one.
It was actually good, wasn't it? Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
There was one dude who had like and this is probably really offensive, I'm going to say it anyway, the maddest upper body but has never trained legs before.
Oh, no, bro. He's got legs, mate. They just look. They just appeared on
what
stage.
It was he's a lovely kid, right? He's a big fan of the podcast. Me and him have been speaking every day,
bud.
right? Me and him have been speaking every day. They just got his running wrong. So his legs were flat. So the kid's like 258, 260
Yeah, he looked
pounds,
huge
right?
up top.
Mate, but he dropped by the time he got on stage, he dropped 11 pounds from waking up. So whatever they did, they messed up. The food he was on wasn't touching him. I had a look at him backstage. And I had a look at him earlier on. He told him it had a bit of food in it. He popped a bit, faded. They got his music wrong, so that threw his head off a bit, bless him. I've given him information to feed back to his coach, so they're going to make some tweaks for the PCA Northeast. Yeah, my man there, mate, his physique's awesome.
Oh no, that's not the guy I was on about.
Bro, when he was backstage, he's fucking massive.
Yeah, he looked like a big dude. Yeah,
He's got so much potential. He needs more legs, but
very round physique.
Yeah, what I said to him is really he should have been waking up and staying the weight he was at, like I did, if not getting heavier. He should have been eating some food at his weight. So they got it wrong.
I will say though, Hilly, I know you probably don't want to hear this, mate, but if you had 2 tits, mate, you'd be cleaning up in classic.
So
you would literally be running rings around motherfuckers.
Jordan,
that is something I want to actually kind of touch on. You said you're not a fan, but do you not reckon a little bit of metaphor might help?
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
I was drawing diagrams of where injection spots are going to be.
Well, thing, right? I am going to try it. I will try it. Dan suggested it. I spoke to Hilly about it. He goes, I probably wouldn't do it, but I will try it anyway. And I just want to see, because there's nothing I can do at this point.
I would, if you're going to do it, the key thing is, look, I had a really long conversation with Joe Jeffries about this, and it was super helpful because it was when he did the Troy Hemus's pet at one of the PCA shows. And whereas I was using it at the time, and I fucked up toward the end of my prep, which wasn't really beneficial towards me, was I was effectively looking at my chest in a flat position, if you like, and I would pin it where I would want fullness, would normally run the inner or the outside of the pec. But what Joe was saying is you want to hit the shot. So look where the gap is or where you want to feel the fullness effectively. Once you hit that, mark it, come off, and then pin it there, because it's only going to be localized swelling effectively if you hit that exact point. So like,
wait, so you only do that before the show? You wouldn't just do that normally?
I would do it the night. I said this earlier. The way I was told to do it is to get a light pump in it first to kind of like stretch the fascia tissue, if you like, and then load it up. That was the night before the show, and then pre-show stick it in. That's from my understanding.
You wouldn't just do it like on a day-to-day basis and just train with
it. You can do. I know that. I was chatting to, is it Jim Georgia? Jim Georgia, the massive guy. He messes me about where to get the metaphor from. And I pointed him towards those, and I think he's had some big success with it. And you
need to tell me, because I've used it back when, like, I think I was probably 19, because that's when it was massive, wasn't it? Like everyone was on it. But back then, like, a bottle was like 50 quid, and it's fucking dear to run it properly. And I couldn't really afford to run it like properly, so it didn't really do anything for me.
I think with Hilly's pec, your pec's not that bad, bro.
Yeah,
this is like 98% detachment.
Yeah. My worry is with mine is that, so my physiotherapy background, you normally get either a tendon detachment or a tear at the musculotendinous junction. Those are the common ones. But I literally ripped the belly of mine in 2. And there's only like 10 or 15% of it left attached. It was the worst one. My surgeon ended up, when I went to see him, he was actually already one of my nutrition clients, but he got me in for an allograft to reattach the tendon. When they cut me open, the tendon was fine. I've literally ripped the belly in 2. So I don't think, because of, if that's the belly, so say the muscle spans like that, usually it either rips here where the tendon meets the muscle, or it rips here from the arm. Mine's ripped clean down the middle and it's come away like that.
Yeah, I think...
I think there's less chance of filling it, you see.
Yeah, I don't think you're a filler. I think what potentially could be done with Hilly's is, what you can almost like see where it's split. Like you can see the pec minor and major quite split between the two. I think your best bet is going to be like a little bit in the top and a little bit in the bottom, just to add some volume between the two, if that makes sense, in 2 spots.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
The only other way around it would be, it sounds a bit fuck now, yeah? You simply have to get a little pec implant in the
I thought about this, but if you're a normal person who doesn't train, just for like cosmetic purposes, maybe. But for us, we train, you can't risk that. I
considered it as well. And my thought pattern was, if you do get something like that, you can never grow you with a pec, because then you're going to end up with them imbalanced anyway and all sorts of stuff. And it's not going to look right when you're all the way down.
Yeah, it's going to be like a tit, like a fake
like a plate, like that weird little spastic plastic kitty that was on This Morning all the time.
I mean, didn't Rich Piana have them? And his looked like he had implants.
He had something else, bro. He had something else put in his arms and chest.
They had, so his was like synthol. But it was something they use in those Brazilian girls' asses that hangs about for longer. Yeah. And they put that in it.
They do that other thing as well. It's basically is it BBLs? Did they take the fat out, don't they, and put it? There's another bodybuilder who's had something done similar to this, but we'll talk about that off the camera.
Right.
In terms of the peak and what we did, so I think people find that interesting or want to know. He only approached it mildly, and I won't go through all of the drugs because obviously that's AJ's protocol and to him. But we literally, because we're still pushing for the northeast, I kept hard cardio in until Thursday, 130 beats per minute, 30 minutes. Steps were still 13 to 15k. Normal training and meal plan. Up until Friday, we took vitamin C to 8 grams a day, which I do with clients anyway. Caffeine, 200 milligrams twice a day, which I normally do with clients. It was nice for me to see that some of the stuff AJ does is stuff that I already do. We jacked water up to 10 litres every day, which was not fun. Made me feel shit all week. That was probably the worst part of it. 8 litres is all right, but going to 10 is uncomfortable. I've done it before. And that was the part that made me feel the worst. I've done that before, was there with Scott Stevenson. It's you're just excreting so much water. That's the part that makes me feel the worst.
Is that in the sense of fatigue, Hilly?
Yeah, you can feel the water flushing out of you, and it zaps your energy. It does. I normally don't take people any farther than 8 because of that. But like I say, with Scott Stevenson, he took me to 10. And when what he did the day before the show, he wanted me to get in 10 by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which was horrendous. But I got it in, and then he shut it off, and he kept it off till the following day. Whereas what we did with AJ was this time, we did 10 on the Friday. I woke up on the Saturday morning hitting a new low, and the look was good. Then we upped carbs. Nothing exciting, about 600 to 700 grams across the day. Some fats in there, some beef meals. Water ended up being about 4 litres, so about a 60% reduction. We used a tiny bit of diazide, usual AIs and whatnot, and a little bit of vodka before bed Friday night, before bed Saturday night, which I'm presuming is where Nathan Diasher gets the vodka from, because Nathan's worked with AJ when he won all them shows. Saturday I had a decent night's sleep. Sunday woke up, I was just I think Saturday morning I was 198.75. Sunday I was 199.75, so I'd only gained a pound, but the look was drastically better. We did one bigger cream of rice meal with a little bit of beef, 2 grams of vitamin C with each meal. I did a little shot of vodka and coffee after meal 1. And then I did a little bit of beef, rice meal and rice cakes. Same again for meal 3, which was before stage, with a banana. Backstage was it was half a cookie and some honey, some salt. And honestly, the pump that we kept, the fullness, I was just as hard and full and pumped after I'd gone through all the posing and everything as I was before. There no pump products, a little bit of Superdrol, which I normally use with a lot of people anyway. But it was a very smooth, very well run in peak. AJ was on the ball all the time, every hour or 2 hours, checking in with him, making little adjustments. No reduction in sodium, no pulling of sodium, nothing like that.
No stupid shit, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the way to do it, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
How was that trending, Hilly, with like your refeeds or high days you had throughout the prep? Were you jumping up pounds? Because like we kept discussing it, you still didn't look flat to us, or you were quite round.
Yeah.
And you were quite comfortable with that. Did you want more in terms of fullness, or were you happy with where it was at?
No, I was happy with where it was at. And what was weird though was how we carved up was not how my high carb days have been. So my high carb days were very, very low fat, and they were reduced sodium during the prep. So I think he does that to stop water spillage for a high day. So I don't think he wants you putting the water on and skewing the visualization. I think he's just glycogen refueling you and trying to spin your metabolism, churning as he calls it.
Yeah.
But I expected the Saturday to look like that, and it looked nothing like that at all. It was more fats, more red meat. Sodium was the same. There was no change in it. I think he's using the tiny little bit of diuretic and the vodka and whatever else he's, because there was some other stuff in the background I'm not going to mention, but it's just a manipulation of normal stuff that we use. And I just think it's his attention to detail. He does what I do. He uses the scale a lot. Some people are not a fan of using the scale. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of logging clients' weights morning, late afternoon, before bed, in the whole run up for the peak week. And one of my reasonings is, when you're at the show, you can't send me fantastic pictures. If you're travelling to a show, there might be not good lighting. So I had a guy like Stephen last year. He won the first time. He's at one of the PCA shows. This is the exact reason why I like weight. I knew that he looked on the money at 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock at night at a certain weight. And I knew he looked on the money at a certain weight when he woke up. He travelled to this show right in Hull. He got there at 8 o'clock at night. There was no lighting in the hotel, in the apartment. It looked shocking everywhere, right? And it was dark outside. So he was panicked, and I was like, listen, get on the scales, find a set weight, right? Riz, you're making a lot of noise here, mate. I can't hear you.
Sorry.
Come on, son, don't screw your podcast, kid. You'll be kicking off later on. And we couldn't find any good pictures or anything, right, at all. And I was like, listen, don't stress. Last night, we know you look good at this weight. Your weight is the same. Nothing has changed. We know you're on the money. Woke up the next day, the lighting was still shit, but the was the same. By the time we found good lighting, the look was awesome. So it's why I'm a huge proponent of pictures and weight. And I'm presuming AJ is the same, because I took my scales to the show. I was checking my weight, and I woke 199.75, and I went 200.5, 201.5, back to 200.5, and I think an hour before stage I was bang on 200. So we just hovered around that morning look all day, and that weight.
What sort of fat content is that red meat meal?
So the meals were 82 on the Saturday. There were like 120 to 130 grams of cooked beef, lean beef, and then about 10 grams added fats. On show day, there were just 80 grams and about 10 grams added fats.
Yeah. So he's still shooting for a lean meat and just choosing to add fats rather than relying on the fats from...
Back
to what you said about the scale. The guy you mentioned before that dropped about 10 pounds. If you've had the scale, because you don't just drop 10 pounds in an hour, that takes you 10 hours, right? So if you've got the scale and you see yourself dropping 2 pounds, 2 pounds, 2 pounds, you can prevent that.
It's such a good metric as well for like fullness. Like I remember this vividly in my brain when me and Hilly were struggling to get full after one of my high days, and it got to a point as we reverse engineered that. So he would send me for my 5 guys, weigh me, eat another meal, weigh me, because we know I dropped 5 pounds overnight. So if I wasn't gaining enough weight the night before, he would make me eat another meal. So it got to the point I was on 5 guys. So it was like there was 8 meals by the end of that day. It was 5 guys and then 2 cream of rice meals, which was giving me like 7 or 8 pounds, so that I was actually waking up 3 pounds fuller. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a good way for other people who haven't competed before.
Same example here. I've got a guy competing in Japan in about 7 hours. So we've done 3 mock peaks. We know he normally gains 2 to 3 kilos over the 2 days. So today his metabolism, and this happens because he's nervous, because we've got vitamin C in, he's kicking out a bit more fluid than normal. And the nerves play a big part, and the stress, he's had to travel. So we've tracked his weight. The last 3 times we've done it, he needed 6 meals. After the last meal, which was 2 double cheeseburgers, no cheese, a large fries, and a cookie or something, he was up between 2 and 3 kilos. This time, before he went to bed, I got him to send weight, and he was only up 1.5 kilos. Now, I know he's going to drop that 1.5 kilos, and I know I want him waking fuller. So we put in another about 100 grams of carbs before bed, an extra 500 ml of fluid, got him to take his weight again, and that pushed him up that kilo. So now he's exactly where he wants to be. He's probably going to wake up in about an hour or 2 Japan time, and I know he'll be on the money. I know he'll be where he needs to be, and then I know we can just drip feed him into the show. No problem.
I imagine to do that though, you've got to be pretty close to condition, so you've got to be ready early. Otherwise, because the closer, like when you're fat, the refeeds don't affect you the same way
See,
to when you're close to condition.
It's funny you say that. So I was just about to mention this now. So we've come off of a heavy off season. Pulled food, not drastically by any means, in any way, shape, or form. But everyone knows as you get through that flat stage, training becomes a bit more optimal and your body becomes a little bit more efficient. I can already feel now coming into week 3 that when I put that refeed in, my body's picking up. I can feel it. Like I'm hotter. My bowels are moving quicker. I'm digesting food at a much faster rate. So I think, and the only reason I mention this, and I wanted to mention this, is, and why it's so important is you'll hear people say about spiking metabolism or stoving the fire or your body's picking up. Like that's why it's so important to practice these mock peak weeks, because your body will run away with you and you'll see that high day or that level of food that you're consuming may not be enough. And even now, as I see it, even though I'm still fat, when I'm putting those higher carbohydrate days in, my body's running through them at a much faster rate because my metabolism speeding up because I'm not in that fat, heavy, oversaturated state that I was 3 weeks ago, you know?
And you can still use them earlier on. I still use them to gather metric information. So even though you're not stage lean, so you're not getting an exact visual look, you're getting the feedback of, right, well, what food works for you? How was your digestion? Were you gassy? How much weight did you gain? How many days did it take to drop off? Because something Scott Stevenson taught me was fat tissue, adipose tissue, holds water. So a good sign you're getting leaner is if you put 800 grams of carbs in it 10 weeks out and you spike 6 pounds, as you go on, if you keep putting 800 grams of carbs in and you were only doing, and you're only holding 6 pounds and then 5 pounds and then 4 pounds, that is a sign that you now can start pushing food because you're getting leaner, your body's kicking it out quicker and you're flying through stuff. So here, just exactly on point there, Kenter has just woke up and he is 70.8, which is exactly where he should be. He was trending up. His lowest was 68.5. So he is, 2
kilos up?
2.5 kilos up, yeah. Absolutely perfect.
And I find, and this is just anecdotal evidence, I think when you're pushing for that fullness, like you want to be holding 4 or 5 pounds. That's not necessarily scale for everybody, but that seems to be the amount where you can see, like, in my opinion with clients, a noticeable difference and no spill of fluid, no real change in look. I think anything over that, you're starting to soften a little bit.
And look, you know,
I
with
think it
Hilly's,
takes you too long to drop it off.
with Hilly's peak right on the weekend, only pumped did what?
Oh,
Like
barely anything.
4 bicep curls and like 2 rope
Nothing.
pulls, and that was it.
I literally didn't even pump at all. I just ran through posing. I literally didn't feel I needed to. I was just pumped, stood there posing. Didn't do anything at all.
That's a genetic proponent, Hilly, because like I feel that's one of the I think that's where I go wrong. I think my body needs to pump up. Does that make sense? I think I have one of those physiques that I need to like. Do you think it's just a peaking thing?
I think it's a bit of both. I think if you get everything right, you don't need to pump up as much.
Yeah.
For me, even when, and this goes back to what you said earlier, even in the past, even when I'm flat, I don't look flat. My body holds glycogen well.
Yeah.
I can go 0 carb 4, 5, 6 days and I still get a pump in the gym.
Yeah.
I've never had that feeling of I'm flat as a bag of dicks here.
Yeah.
Whereas you get that a lot, Dick. You're like, Hilly, I know that's your terminology. I'm flat as a bag of dicks here, I know. Yeah. I never really feel like I'm not getting a pump. That never really occurs to me.
The only reason I asked that is Dennis James's podcast. You boys watch that? It's always quite funny.
Yeah. The Menace podcast.
They just had William Bonac on there, and they were talking about posing to pump up, and they were talking about how they did it and competitors do it. And I think what he was kind of implying, that like backstage at the Olympia, there's none of this like posing to pump up. Everyone's doing like full blown workouts. Like he pumps up for an hour and 15 minutes backstage in every bit of gym equipment. He does a leg day, he does legs, chest, shoulders, back, everything, like a full blown session.
Yeah, but I think when you're at that level, at the IFBB Pro level, they're not marking. In the amateur ranks, it's more about being shredded. In that ranks, it's different. It's that fullness. That's why a lot of these
look.
That's why a lot of the coaches who think are very, very good amateur like coaches never make it in the pro rank because they don't understand that balance.
And I think, yeah, we mentioned this, I think, on podcast 1, wasn't it? We said that, like, dieting someone to nothing is not hard. It's not. Like, as long as you have a tiny understanding of what you're doing, you'll get their glutes in. But the amount of times I see people get on stage nowadays where they're happy with their look because they're peeled out their brains, but then they rebound and they're 30 pounds up in the same condition, that just shows you dieted their ass off. Like, they lost all of the glycogen, lots of muscle. Because if you're rebounding that amount of tissue and you are just as lean, the prep didn't go well. You didn't land the best version of you on stage. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I was talking to this to Ryan about this. I'm 240. I look better now today
Doesn't surprise me.
than I did on stage. And I was just looking at, like, I was doing some posing like today, just after cardio because I didn't even train. And I was posing. And I was like, what the fuck? I look better today than I did like a couple of weeks ago at the show.
Hey,
What the fuck? And I'm 240.
Riz, can I share my screen with you for a sec? Is that possible?
Try it. We'll let you do it.
Right,
Yeah, so if you click share,
You're
And go
about to blow
screen.
his, you're about to blow his head up, bruv, with tech.
No.
Is it asking for permission? Hilly's browser needs screen sharing permission.
Yeah.
So accept that. On your Chrome.
Don't do some shit.
Right, what do you want to accept, what do you want to show? And I'll do it.
I was just going to show you, I was just going to show Kenta's checking pictures how he's walking so you can see.
Just show us on your phone, like. Might just
no,
be
it's-
easier.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah.
because those McDonald's pictures you sent were literally like 3 days of refeeding
Yes.
different.
This is nuts, yeah.
Or if you want, send me the pictures on WhatsApp. I'll share my screen. I've quickly closed all
You
this
got other
porn.
questions? I've got about 30 of them.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
got
go
some.
through some questions.
I've got some pretty good questions, you know.
I think we should go through some questions. 'Cause
Yeah.
last time we didn't.
Last time we...
What happened last time was Hilly had to go and do his check-in bullshit. And I couldn't be bothered to put the overlay on 3 people, so I left it on 4.
Bro, we stay on for about another hour and a half after the podcast. It was mental. It was like midnight. I was thinking, fuck me. We've been on for like 4 hours, and we've got like hour and 20 minutes of actual podcast.
I'll tell you what, lads, the honest to God, yeah. Oh, do you know what, Hilly? I've got to admit it, right? Do you know backstage, when
Yeah.
all the other lads had their Dreamtan on, I was thinking, Hilly's ain't dark enough.
Yeah, do you remember what I was saying to you? You just want to pick that glitter up. This is what I was saying to everybody. If you follow what the crowd will do, they get that caked on look. You just want, as soon as, and I bet you and Dee saw it. As soon as you brush it on, you see like the glitter pick up on the skin, and that's all
Yeah.
you want is like a top coat.
Bro, Dee is so good at what she does, right? I don't know how she was like Riz. It's like putting makeup on.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. But the other guys, I was looking at them thinking, yo, I need to make him heavier. I need to make him harder, right? But bro, they look better in an area like this. But on the normal stage, they looked like they were blotchy.
Hilly's color was, and that's the problem with it. You're right, Riz. It picks up like different shades of darkness if you cake it on because you miss areas. If you put a light film on, you can get it a bit more even. But you can see in his photos, like his color was considerably better than everybody's.
Bro, it looks sick.
I kid you not, guys, right? I kid you not. That was all down to Riz and Dee, but particularly Dee, I'm not going to lie. She just seemed to have this touch. Even Riz was like, Dee, you just do it. Dee, you just do it. She just had this delicate touch, a female's attention to detail.
Yep.
And I kid you not, the time, and I must have said thank you to Riz and Dee about 9 million times over 24 hours. The attention they spent making sure everything looked right in the detail and with the glaze, it was like having a professional tanning team there, which is why I love the pair of them.
Sounds
But it
silly.
made a difference.
But my starters or first timers, like, I cannot stress this enough because I wish I knew how important it was. A tan will make or break you. And if anyone goes back from my first timer show, my tan was fucking awful. Comparable to everybody else. I don't know if it's I slept in it funny or whatever it may be. It just
Nah,
didn't
bro,
sit.
but I tell you something right now, bro. The big thing I realised was, yeah, with that Dreamtan, bro, when you smack it in, like you said there, we were smacking it in, yeah, we were tapping it, and the more you smack it, it just sits. It doesn't. it doesn't sit on top. It almost goes inside the skin. It's
you
weird.
lose the bumpiness, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dan
we were
did
doing-
mine, and he was doing exactly that. Yeah, trouble was, my base scope weren't dark enough. I literally looked like I hadn't even tanned.
Like with my guys, I said to Hilly, because I sent them like my protocol. I do like 3 days of tanning, so I'll do like day one a base camp tan at home with them. Like I went round to Alex's house and did it for him. I did his base tan with Pro Tan, super dark, made him steep in it, showered it off. Same again the next day. Then on the day of the day before the show, another coat. So that's 3 coats of Pro Tan he's got on. Don't wash it off at that point. Then he sleeps in it. It gets all the shit off. I did a touch-up coat of Pro Tan on the morning of the show. Then when we were at the venue, we went with the Dreamtan, and his colour was phenomenal. Like there was no golden tint to it.
Do you know, I think it's better just to get the show, the venue to spray you, because it's just
No,
Those
bro.
tans are not supposed to go through a gun. They're not made for it. If you go on any of their YouTube channels, the reason they supply the mitts is they are not supposed to go through a gun. They're supposed to be rolled on or used with a mitt.
Chuds, I went to 2019 Manchester. They got my tan brang on, yeah? The last show I did, bro. Hey, do you remember that show, bro, in Manchester, right? Mate, they made me, bro, look like I was a matte. I would look like I was black, bro. I was that dark, bro.
Yeah, that can happen as well.
I looked like I was matte, bro.
But
Because your tan needs to be to your skin colour.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it looks mega.
That is good.
Wait for this here, look, wait for this.
His glute tines are in, aren't they?
Mate, watch this here.
Yeah, he's sick.
Yeah, that's better than anything. His leg and ass now.
Fucking hip flexor on as well.
Yeah, look at that. Fucking
Mate,
hell.
that's such good going for a young un. Like any young lads who think or they want to know what potential is, that's the main contributing factor. Is being able to get in shape. Once you can do that, the rest is easy.
It's when your muscles show that much and you're still under muscled.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's absolutely. There's one more.
Imagine the
here.
rebound off of that. Fuck me.
Look at these glutes there, look. And we're going to get a bit fuller from here, but...
Yeah, he looks sick. Looks sick.
Yeah, he's got. It looks so much better, doesn't it, when someone has the long glute tie-ins, because you don't necessarily need absolutely boxed off pill glutes.
Yeah, he looks sick.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That mate, imagine that with another £30.
Oh, mate, this kid, Kenta, this kid, right? He is literally no complaints, no problems, no can I change this. He has just said, you tell me what to do. I trust you 100%. He has put the work in. I mean, look at his. That is a man's face that has suffered.
Oh yeah. So what you're basically saying, he's the opposite of Riz.
But listen.
And the kid's got so much potential. His structure and his shape, look.
I'm not being racist here, but he's got the Asian legs, hasn't he? Like, look at that fucking teardrop. Like, look at it.
Yeah.
It's like 4D.
Yeah. Look at even the side shots. It's like an action figure.
They're actually his best shots.
Yeah,
Like
an action figure.
Really impressive to me.
Yeah.
You can even see that fucking hip flexor. It's mental.
Look at that.
Yeah.
He poses really well for his physique.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Any questions, boys?
Mate, yeah, I've got a load of them. Deck, you start.
Let's just quick fire everything today, lads.
All right.
Cool.
We say that, but then we go on a tangent, and then
We're gonna quick fire it.
It's
We're
a
gonna
fun
quick
part.
fire it.
So we've covered this a bit, but this guy's a bit of a legend. He speaks to me a lot about the podcast and asks lots of questions, so I'll fire it off for him. A guy called ADMC. Low dose trend in the off season, yes or no?
No.
100%. I love a low dose trend. Just because I don't get on with nandrolone. I don't get on with anything nandrolone. MPP, Deca, I don't get on with them. Gives me anxiety. So train is, but you got to keep it low. I keep it at 100.
Chud, do you
about you,
reckon
Nick?
my mum shagged your dad and we're actually the same person?
Probably.
But
he's
got
exactly the
better-
same.
Sounds
he's
like we do a lot
got-
of the same shit, but it works well though, because it keeps your composition a little bit tighter, keeps your strength up. At 100 meg, you're not getting all the sweats, you're not getting all the sleep issues, so it's just right.
Yeah,
I
so
never get sleep issues with Trent, even in prep. I
I,
sleep better in prep than I do in off season.
I sleep fine. I do just get the sweats. Like I have no problem sleeping all the way through the night, even at like one day out. But it's just the
Bro,
sweats that I
like,
get.
even if you sleep well, yeah, when you wake up and you're drenched and your bed is drenched and you get up for a piss and then you come back to the bed and it's freezing cold, that's what puts you off to sleep.
Yeah.
It's not so much, you know what I mean?
Then that's the worst bit as well because you sleep with the window open, and you know when you got the duvets wet and you catch that breeze, and it's like, oh, this is
Oh,
fucking disgusting.
mate.
But I favour, yeah, 100 to 150 megs for me. Like I said, I like
Mhm.
to cover all pathways in my cycles. So of the 290 Nors, I'm always going to go for Tren over MVP. Psychologically, I feel a lot better. That's the big thing that's not spoken about a lot. MVP and Deca just fucks my brain. Highly anxious. I don't feel great having a watery compound in me at all. I look fuller and rounder for sure, but I don't feel great. And if you don't feel great, it becomes redundant. So you also have the benefit of nutrition partitioning. It is
Yeah,
massively increased with Tren. So I think it's a go-to, and it's been a staple in my off season for the past 2 years now.
same. I don't know if you find that with MPP, it's almost like it's not anxiety. It's like I just feel like down.
I
Do you know what I mean? And there's no reason. It's like I feel like I wake up and I feel down today. I don't know why. There's no reason, but I do. And
any of the sesh gremlins will know what this means. I call it the fear. After you've had a heavy weekend, you have this weird like fear feeling, like you're scared of something for no reason. That's what I'm like on MPP or Deca. It's weird.
yeah,
What questions you got, Chads?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah.
yeah.
Whenever I've put Trenier in off season, bro, it just fucks up my stomach, man. That's why I
You've
don't
got a
use
lot
it.
of issues with your stomach, don't you?
Yeah,
You know
because
what?
this Bodie here.
You're right though, because even like my food's still quite high, but I do get pretty bad lactic acid or sorry acid reflux. When my food starts to get lower, especially in prep, my stomach's consistently empty. I do get it, but it's manageable. It's not like I'm nailing Gaviscon or whatever 24/7. Like it's okay and
Do you
it's
do
manageable.
any? Do you do any like digestion drinks or anything like that? I
Just
start like
L-glutamine, psyllium husk, and the hot lemon in the morning.
yeah,
I don't do any anymore.
that's
Nothing.
what I do.
Nothing, bro.
I find that helps a lot.
But I was doing it, yeah. What I find with my belly is, bro, if I just leave it and I don't try to fuck with it, it's all right. When I
Right,
start
right.
putting in the fucking lemon juice and I put the glutamine in. Once I start doing the lemon juice and just try to change the stomach acid pH levels to sound all clever, but my stomach goes worse.
Yeah, and this is because it's very dependent, you see. So when you add in apple cider vinegar and lemon juice in, you're changing the pH of the stomach. For a lot of people, that pH balance is off one way. So that brings it back in. The amount of people I put that stuff in and they're like, oh my God, I feel great straight away. But some people will instantly say, I got acid straight away. And that instantly tells you their pH is fine and you don't need to mess with it.
Yeah.
So it's just suiting it to the person. And sorry about not answering that question probably there with a trend in the off season. For the right person at the right time, I'm a huge fan. It's just, for me, it's person dependent and what you're trying to do. So where I quite favour it is either at the end of a growth phase for the last 6 weeks, dropping maybe a 19 or dropping a Deca or something out and using it as a recomp at the end of a cycle. Or if you're moving into a long push phase, the first 4-6 weeks, and I'm just doing this with a couple of clients, I will bring in, say, test and master, test and EQ with a low dose tren and barely increase food. And what I find is the increase in protein synthesis, nutrient partitioning, metabolism from the tren allows a sharp recomp without you having to pull food. And I maybe up output a little bit, use the first 4-6 weeks as a recomp, and then I might drop the tren, bring in a Deca or something, or move on. Or if you've got someone like Deca that doesn't really get much acid, if any, feels good on the lower dose, with the higher test in the EQ, then you fucking run with what you feel good on, as always. Person dependent. For me, any tren at any dose ruins my sleep. So it's no good for me in an off season. It's just not. It just, honestly, at the moment, whether I take 300, 400 or 500 mgs of tren, my sleep, I am lucky if I get 3 or 4 hours sleep. And that's been the same for every prep I've done. So it would be fruitless for me to run in an off season. I've tried it. It just annihilates my sleep straight away. So it's just no good for me.
Do you know, going back to that the lemon talk, yeah? I didn't know this, yeah, but you know, you think that lemon would be acidic on the pH scale. It's actually not. Am I right, Hilly?
I thought it was acidic. Yeah, is it alkaline? Is that
It's
the
actually
alkaline one?
people. I might be wrong. I might have totally fucked this, yeah, but I'm sure I read it somewhere because I thought that.
No, I think lemon's acidic.
I
Yeah,
think lemon
it
is
Yeah,
actually.
that's what it is, I would have thought.
No, you think it is, but I think it actually makes it more. It's more alkaline.
That could be true.
Or is
I
it
might-
because it's acidic, the body then balances it out and almost brings up your alkaline higher, so then that overcompensates.
So lemon juice in its natural state is
Oh,
acidic.
you are right, Riz.
See, I'm quite smart, bro. I told
You are. It becomes alkaline once metabolized with a pH well above 7.
So that's, I don't know where I read that before somewhere.
I
Maybe.
reckon it's because the body overcompensates. Because there's too much, it senses there's too much acidity,
It does the
so
opposite.
it goes, right, I need to bring the alkaline up.
Yeah.
Bro science. Yeah, bro
Yeah,
science.
probably, but
Once fully digested, its effect proven to be alkalizing with many health benefits. Oh, mega.
there you go.
More questions, boys?
Is it true that GH causes cancer?
Right, this is something that I spoke to my friend Matt about, yeah, because I thought it was, but I heard it actually can't. It's only IGF-1 that can, but then growth turns into IGF-1.
That's the
Apparently-
theory of it. It's
but
high enough
apparently-
dosages.
Apparently, you have to take pure IGF-1 to get that, the growth for the cancer cells.
Well, from what I've researched, what growth does is it will protect the cells not just from splitting, but also from dying. So if you've got cells that are damaged and it's protecting them from dying off, well, then that's an issue.
So it actually makes the cancer not die.
Right.
That, in theory, like I think the studies that people speak of, and I've read into them before, and they were in rats, and it was effectively how high of a dose can you run on the rats of growth hormone that will cause enough of an IGF-1 response or an increase to increase the size of a cancer cell. Remember, we've all got cancerous cells inside of us, so it doesn't mean you're going to die of that cancer cell. It just has the ability to increase those cell sizes. So if one's a bad cell, it can potentially increase it. But I think there's loads of studies since that kind of prove that it's redundant, because I don't think any of us would be able to run the growth hormone dosages high enough without the subsequent side effects to get to that point.
I guess unless you've already got cancer, right?
Yeah, I looked into it quite a bit at uni, what studies I could find, and I couldn't find anything that showed a direct link. But I do know medically they won't give you growth and stuff, or they're adapt to give you it if you've got cancer. But I've had clients that have post-cancer treatment that have been given growth hormone replacement therapy. So that would tell me that they're obviously not worried about it initiating any dormant cells or bringing anything back,
Or rebounding you back into cancer, relapsing.
but they are worried about it maybe protecting the cells during treatment and stuff.
But Hilly, how many bodybuilders do you know who have cancer?
Oh, God knows.
Yeah, but you know what that is, don't you? They run such high DMP at prep, it kills the cancer cells.
It kills the cancer cells. No, but honestly, whenever do you hear like how many bodybuilders
That's true.
that we know
That's true.
have cancer? But most of us, yeah. Then again, probably using shit GH, so it doesn't really matter. But,
It's highly
different
hereditary,
topic.
isn't it? It's highly hereditary, and I think I have no doubt there are multiple people who have had cancer or will get cancer from bodybuilding. I think that's the thing, isn't it? With anabolics and this sort of stuff, like you are just exaggerating the propensity of genetics. Like if you have something hereditary, heart disease, cancer, hair loss, extremely small testicles, infertile, by taking this sort of stuff, like you're just going to increase the chances of it at a faster rate, aren't you?
Exactly. Next question. We're on rapid fire.
Whoa. 2 seconds.
I'm muting Hilly for a second because he's typing. Hilly, tell me when you want to talk.
How would you define optimal training volume? Difficult question to answer this.
Who wants to start?
Shall I give the cliche answer?
Yeah, go on.
As much as you can recover from.
Right.
I know it's what nobody wants to hear, but ultimately there are people who can grow at 6 to 8 reps with no issue at all. There are some people that need much higher volume and can recover for it. Ultimately, going back to like what Hilly said last week around once you tick all the boxes, the bigger your cycle, the bigger your gains. It's kind of the same thing. Like if you can cope with more volume, the skill set is trying to understand what that is. And it's difficult. Like I'm still only learning to this day after like 5 or 6 years what is the correct volume for me. It takes a long time because I think what you don't realize is actually I'm a bit run down. Actually my performance is dipping. If I take an extra rest day, or if I pull my 2 working sets down to 1 sets on squats like I've done recently, I can actually survive the rest of my leg day. Like it takes a lot of time and experience to do it. But I think in short, the ultimate answer is as much as you can do where you can still recover and it doesn't affect that muscle group the next training session.
I think to expand a little bit on that, it's also body part dependent, and it's also person dependent on that body part. So you might need different amount of volume for quads than me.
Yep.
So again, there's no optimal for everyone. There's no blueprint of, well, this is how many sets you got to do. You got to find out for yourself. And like you said, if your performance is still going up, add an extra set. You know, if you find that you're too beat up the session after that session, pull that set back. You know, simple. It's not that fucking hard, is it? It's not rocket science.
The real issue as well, I think, is it very much depends on what your sets look like. Yes, the bear in mind there, right? Because so there is a real good review study done by Brad Schofield.
Brad Schofield,
yeah.
Schofield, yeah. He's the go-to guy on all this scientifically, right? He did this study that showed 8 sets, I think, over the week per body part was your base volume. 16 sets showed not only an improvement in hypertrophy, but a significant improvement, because you can have an improvement scientifically that isn't significant. Then they looked at, I think it was 28 sets, which did show an improvement, but it wasn't a significant improvement. So my takeaway from that was, if someone can recover from it, you can start them around 8 and work up to 18, and you will see an improvement in hypertrophy. Now, the problem with all of these studies is they are all done on people, or usually university students, more normal people. They aren't done on people like Deck, you, Juds, Riz, or people like fucking Jordan and Kuba, who are or James Hollinshead, who are absurdly strong, and that are taking their sets so far to failure, it's insane. Because the amount of damage that you guys will create, and then step from yous on here to James Hollinshead and Jordan, right? The damage that then they're creating, there's no way that they might be able to recover from 16 working sets. Yous might be able to recover from, they might need 8, yous might need 12. Do you know what I mean? But then the other thing is, how do you need to be training that hard? So, for instance, then you've got someone like Jay Cutler or Paddy Choppin that have more muscle technically than all of those people. They don't take their sets to true failure. They stop short. So if they're not, so Jay Cutler is well known for doing lots of working volume. Paddy Choppin does lots of working volume, but they don't go to true failure. So what works for them is doing more working volume, not to failure. You can't look at Jay Cutler and go, right, well, he does 25 sets. I'm going to train like Jordan Peters and do 25 sets because Jay Cutler does. That shit doesn't work. So then you've got this mindset of, well, what do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy training like Jordan and James, or do you enjoy training like Jay Cutler? And then what I did is, one of the reasons I hired AJ was, he is a believer in more volume. I love to train like Jordan does, like James does, to total failure. It's why I worked with Scott Stevenson. But the problem was, on top of my injuries, I was coming out with a leg workout or a back workout. I could barely open the fridge due to tendinitis issues and all sorts, right? But I was never going to make myself do all of the volume because I don't enjoy it. So I was like, right, I'll put my trust and spend my money in someone who I feel, sorry, excuse me, knows more in that area. And I do believe that it is giving me a different look. I have still progressed at the same rate, but I don't have the tendon and joint issues. So I think that this, how much volume should I be doing, is so dependent on all of the things you both said, genetics, body part, and everything else. But then it's really on how you were wanting to train. If you were wanting to train like Jordan Peters does, you cannot fucking do the volume that Jay Cutler does.
I think,
And if
one of the biggest things is I could do 5 sets on back and have better growth than someone doing 20 because I connect with my back very, very well, very, very good. I think that is one of the biggest things because, like, honestly, I would do 4 sets. I would get a better growth than someone who's doing 20, but they've got shit connection with the back. And then someone like Chuds will do like 7 sets on bench and I'll do 20. Do you know what I mean? I think it depends about how tuned in you are as well to that body part.
Quads,
like
I literally do like 5 sets and my quads are like, I can't even move them.
That's what I mean, bro.
I need shitload of volume for my chest because my chest is a shit body part.
Yeah. This is really interesting because, especially with chest, because chest has always been my weak part, and I always hammer the volume. And then when I started like limiting my sets, if that makes sense, so like say per exercise I would do 2 sets, instead of trying to rinse the pump out of it and doing 3 or 4, I know that I'm limited to those 2 sets, so I have to put the ultimate intensity, the ultimate effort into those big compounds. So like that's the other way of going about it. Sometimes you have to, if you have a weak body part, is try and hammer the volume, see if that works. But what I also find with the higher volume stuff, which with a lot of the inexperienced people, is it is junk volume. It's like overtraining. Do you know what I mean? They do a set because they're quite weak on it, and they'll do 5, 6, 7, 8 sets, even on the same exercise at times, because they think they can keep rinsing growth out of it, and it's not how it works, unfortunately.
Yo, lads, 1 second. Hilly, did you mute yourself, bruv?
Hang on. Yes, I muted myself because I was typing.
Do you find though when you got a shit body part and you can't connect with it well, it takes a couple of sets just to get yourself, just to kind of establish that connection first. So if I went into a compound straight away on a chest, it'll just be all shoulders and I'll get no chest.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of fly work, and as I've got better now, like my mind's a muscle better, I've stopped doing it. But what I'll do is I'll use like a plate loaded machine first. And I'll pause in the stretch. So literally, as it's touching the pad, if you like, I'll put a 20k plate on it, and I'll just pause there for 3 or 4 seconds, and then I can really start feeling that stretch. And then I make sure I initiate the movement through the pec, not my tricep or not my delts, because I have overly dominant triceps. So I just pause and then drive through. And then once there's blood into it, because that's also what I used to do wrong, is I'd focus on so much on getting that pump from my flies, it would take away from my top set. So now that I do that, I'm keeping my top set strength. I think I found the formula now, which is taking me, like I said, 5 or 6 years. I think I've got it now. So it just need to be patient and then work my way up. But I think another thing as well, that just so people don't make the same mistake I did, just as you can squat 6 plates, doesn't mean you can bench 4 plates. And that was my biggest problem, is I was always strong on legs and back, and I thought, well, if I can do that on that, I must be just as strong on chest. And I never fucking was, which is why my chest never grew. Like, it literally didn't grow. My arms just got bigger, my delts got bigger for the best part of 3 or 4 years. So understand that you'll have stronger body parts, and just because you are strong on one, you're not strong on the other. But I would, whoever is asking this question, I think I would start at a baseline volume, like we said, pre-exhaust the muscle, work it up. If you're fatigued, pull it back off, and just make sure you're not trying to chase a pump so you're burning through all the glycogen and flatten that muscle out. Because that's like my go-to metric at the moment. It sounds really bro science, suits a podcast. My goal is to make sure my chest is still full when I hit my next chest session. If I'm not, I've overdone the volume. I need to pull something away. And that seems to be working for me so far.
Right, what's the next question then, boys?
I hate this question because there's no answer, but we'll try and answer it as best as we can. How much Arimidex with 500 megs of test?
None.
Well, this was the thing, right? It just I hate this question because it shows you how little educated people are.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no answer for that because it's going to be different for everyone. You got to go by blood work. So take a certain amount of tests, take a certain amount of Arimidex, do your blood work, see where your estrogen is at.
I think Chud's basically answered it, boys, isn't it?
Yeah.
On to the next one.
I've got a good question. So, if there are no financial implications or health implications, what would your cycle be? So, effectively, you had the opportunity to one cycle, go balls out. There was no health issues, no cost issues. What would it be?
That's a cool question.
Right.
Right,
Go
Riz,
on
you
one at a
start.
time, then go
Right.
Riz.
So, big up Matt Porter, RIP as well. What I would do would, right, money's not an option, health is not a problem. So, right, I would run 20 IUs of growth Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, in big bolus shots because I could afford it. And on top of that, what I would do is I would run the Lantus baseline every single day. I'd run Nova Rapid with all the meals in small amounts, right? And then I would simply do, on top of that, I would run test at a gram. I would run, possibly try to take it even higher. And on top of that, I'd run EQ at a gram. And then I'd run Deca at a gram. And that's what I would do, bro. And I'll use every single possible peptide through the day as well.
I would love to see like scale weight of that, wouldn't you? Just to like try it like in like 4 weeks to see how much scale weight you would gain.
Matt, you know Matt Porter, bro?
Sorry.
He said so. Go on.
Bro, it's funny you said that because I literally watched that a video of his this morning, the Big in a Hurry, and he said exactly that. He was like literally like low fat diet, like as low as you can get it,
Minimal fat.
minimal fats. Lantis, he said, take it up to 100, like over time. And he goes, what Riz just said, you take your Humalog with all your meals, couple of units, and he said like a gram, so a gram and a half a test. EQ, he's just said 2 compounds. I'd potentially add 100 mega tren as well, just because you want all the pathways right. Growth, probably at like 12 IU. Yeah. I mean, Increlex, that will be an interesting one. It's not really much spoken about, and we don't really know much about it, but it you know, there's a potential.
That's one that I always forget about because it's so expensive and so hard to get. Do you know what I mean?
Did anyone see that mad cunt who was posting about the other day spending $20,000 a week, isn't it? And then someone captioned it saying, someone commented saying, "How do you afford this?" And then another guy said, "You know those weird gay guys in your DMs that want to buy your pants? Speak to them very nicely. They buy you things."
I don't think a lot of people give Matt Porter enough credit, right?
He was the goat. I think we're just past that generation.
That guy was so fucking clever, right? He's got hardly any views on his shit, yeah? He was a fucking G. And all of these topical creams, and they're all copied his formula.
If any of you boys don't think that work as well, I'm fucking telling you it does. That Yohimbine cream, the Vasaburn, with a waist trainer, works.
I've got one, but it was shit. It was shit. I need to get a decent one. You need to tell me where to get what one to get next.
You can. You're probably got.
I've got some.
Yohimbine
You spoke to the wrong person, bruv.
I just looked it up online because I spoke to someone and like, oh, you should get it. It works. So I got like what's it called? Like, I don't know. I need to look it up, but it's on. Yeah, it's not got your Yohimbine or anything. It's just.
AJ wanted me to use the Vasoburn and Vasodry. I just couldn't get it in time from when he told me. Because he's in America. It was on the week before and there was no way I'd have got shipping here. But he's a fan of it.
There's another one of the creams, isn't there? The Piles cream. They've removed the compound now in the UK, but in America you can still get it. And there's
the hemorrhoid cream makes you dinner.
That's it. Yeah, the hemorrhoid cream. Pulls the fluid out.
Pulls the fluid out the skin.
It makes sense.
For me, a cyclist, it's such a hard question to ask because the fact of the matter is, if your health wasn't taking any implications and you had no funding issues, then you would just start with a base and you would just take everything and work up, wouldn't you? Really, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it's a hard question to answer. For me, what would be mains would be at least I would take enough growth hormone, pharmacy grade, that I could physically handle and still function. I would be taking Lantus on a daily basis.
So
to
how much
balance
would
out.
that be?
I have no idea. I would just keep working it up, but probably 8 to 15. I don't know. I've never gone higher than 6. I would literally just keep tapering it up until I couldn't function and then put it back a little bit, because funding is no issue and it's not going to harm my health. I would take Lantus to make sure there was no insulin resistant issues on that, and I would taper that dose up in line with food. And then I wouldn't choose big doses of one drugs. I would be doing cycles of probably a test base at a good dose, probably a deca base at a good dose, and then I would like to trial running 4-week cycles with M-Tren and maybe Superdrol, and then Ment and something else, playing about with all the exotic compounds that are really too toxic to run. But if for some strange reason you don't have to deal with the toxicity, I would just be coming up with loads of mad concussion to see what did what and having loads of fun.
You slam loads of orals as well, all of them.
Yeah, I'd go big on the orals. I think and this is legitimately because I don't think I would. I think there is a point of diminishing returns, isn't there? Even though you're not getting any toxicity from it, I think you would just feel like a bag of dicks no matter what. So I think I would go gram of test, gram of primo, 150 tren, 500 EQ. 6 I use a growth hormone. I'm not even joking when I say this. 100 I use a Lantus. I'd run rapid pre and post. I'd run methylated primo pre-workout as well as M-Tren. And probably some Increlex. And then gain 60 pounds.
Lads, this is what I was using.
Yeah, that one's not the good one.
No, this one, Hilly knows. This one's got the Yihimbine in it because I bought loads before it got banned.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Because they still do it now, don't they? Nice. Yeah, they still do it now, don't they? But they haven't got the Yihimbine in.
No, if you get it stateside, it's got Yihimbine in it. If you get it from the UK, it's not got Yihimbine in it. Secrets.
It worked well, that stuff.
On the Lantis, when you said about 100 units, what's your thoughts on guys talking about taking 100 units of Lantis, but only on certain days? So let's say on weaker body parts,
Well,
3 times a week, you take 100.
I think in the UK, because look, I know basal insulin has been used for a long time, but obviously we now know it's very popular. I think the guys in America run it a lot higher than we do over here. Like we see common practice is 10 IUs, don't we? 10 to 20, working up to as high as around 50. I've often heard the American guys speak of doses over 100 IUs. So I have no doubt you could do it. And any one of us in the off season eating 1,000 grams of carbs a day on those high days, it's going to be enough carbohydrate to insulin you're not going to have any issues whatsoever.
The thing is, with Lantus, yeah, you could take, because there's idiots out there trying to commit the SUI, right? Yeah,
Just about to say that.
they've done 300 IUs at once.
No, 600, bro. Someone took 2 full pens.
Yeah, I know some guy did 300 IU. Yeah, he didn't die. They did 600 IU, didn't die, because it just doesn't hit as hard as Nova. But 50 Nova would fuck you up.
I tell you what, though, have you ever been caught by a Lantus hypo?
It's never ending.
When it catches you, like it fucking catches. Like you got to be a moron. I did it once when I was with Daisy. I was supposed to be doing a high day. I think I did 40 IUs of Lantus. I had meal 1 and then trained, and I had to rush into town to get her. So I didn't eat for like 4 or 5 hours. And then I remember getting to a wing stop, and I was looking at the sign. I was like, why does that look weird? And it was like pulsating. And then at that point, like my blood glucose must have been below 2, and I was fucked. I was sat in Wingstop, dripping with sweat, and she's feeding me Coke. I'm just drinking Cokes from the machine repeatedly, just trying to get my blood glucose back up.
I think as well, but lads, you don't realise. Sorry, Hilly.
Sorry.
You know, really fat, obese people, like proper fat wankers, yeah. Them guys take 100 IU Lantus daily with some of them. You know that? They run through a pen every 3 days. The proper obese wankers.
What I find is with Lantus, what I've come to the conclusion is, if you take it and you were just a normal person or you eat your normal meals, the chances of going hypo are almost zero. What I've found is when I've been using it on high days with myself and clients, if you were eating low fat and a high carb meal, because the Lantus is running in the background keeping you low, and then you jack your own insulin response with a high carb, low fat meal, that causes a hypo and it's a vicious hypo.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and I think it becomes a vicious hypo because you're then trying to pull yourself up, but the lantus is always there in the background keeping you down. So do you know if sometimes you hypo, naturally you can ride it out, and if you hypo off a humour log, you can slam a group of carbs, and it brings you back up, and you're fine. What I've found is with the lantus hypo, is if I slam a 60-gram dextrose drink, although that brings me up in the short term, that causes another fucking natural insulin spike, and the lantus is still running underneath, and you end up hypoing again. So I go to work at David Lloyd's, right? And a couple of weeks ago, we only had 10 IU in on my high days. This might be 2 months ago, actually. My high days were like meal 1, 300 grams, 400 grams of egg whites, 150 grams cream. Meal 2, 120, 130 grams of chicken, 150 grams cream of rice, 50 grams low-fat muffin. And then I poured so hard off that meal 1. And I've done more lantus than that meals, but I always had a bit of AJ doesn't have any. So I went and got a carb drink, slammed the carb drink, started to feel okay and started to get worse again. So I had to add do you know them free from macaroons, the coconut ones with the fats there, sugars in. Added that in, and then I levelled off, and I was fine. And what my theory is happening is, because the lantus is constantly pulling your glucose down a bit, when you spike your own naturally, it pulls you down hard. And then although you're having more in to bring you back up, the lantus is always digging you down a bit. So you end up in quite a sticky situation if you're not careful, actually.
So if you are...
But you have to create it yourself by slamming.
By training, exercise,
And by slamming high amounts of carbs in a very low-fat environment.
I think a lot of bodybuilders are dumb as well, because they think that if you use fat with insulin, it makes you fat. But we know that it doesn't work like that, right, Hilly? Because it does not drive fat, it drives glucose.
So if you're going to say you do your cream of rice with your egg whites, add a square of dark chocolate, you'll be fine.
Yeah, so for me, either dark chocolate or nut butter. So again, coming back to digestion, I find if you're using, say, coconut oil, there's no fibre or thickness in it to slow down the gastric emptying of the cream of rice. Whereas a nut butter in the cream of rice adds some fibre, adds some thickness, seems to slow the gastric emptying down a bit. So dark chocolate will be the same.
Yeah, this is where I once fucked up, because everything used to fuck up my stomach, right? If anything caused me a little bit of blowing, I would remove it. So me and Hilly were basically just doing coconut oil or cream of rice. Everything was coconut oil. And when you use it on a peak, bro, you can't eat, it doesn't stick. Like coconut oil does not stick at all.
Because it doesn't slow the absorption of the digestion of the carbs down, whereas something like a nut butter or a dark chocolate.
Why is that? Is that because it's an MCT or?
Because it's just an oil, so it's just thin. Whereas if you add a bit of nut butter or dark chocolate, there's fibre in there. It's just slowing down the gastric emptying that little bit. Whereas obviously, I always go, if you look at the texture of your cream of rice, if you make a bowl of cream of rice and you add 10 grams of oil, it makes it thinner.
Yep.
Where if you add for 10 grams of fat, so that cream of rice is thinner, it's easy to break down in your stomach. You're going to get a quicker dump of carbs out of your stomach. Whereas if you add dark chocolate or nut butter into it, especially the nut butter, it gets thicker, doesn't it? Your cream of rice thickens up. So therefore, it'll slow it down a little bit through the digestive tract.
It's hilarious, isn't it?
Something like oats.
It's really hard to articulate this, but if you had a graph, it's the easiest fucking thing in the world to show about how fast the spike is compared to if you have fats in it. It's like up, down. Yeah. But if you have fats, it goes like this, at a much slower rate. Yeah. Like that's all you're basically doing. Instead of a sharp up and a sharp down, it's just a slower trajectory up and a slower trajectory back down, basically.
So what if you had something like if you have something like oats instead of cream of rice?
Oats will work better, yeah. Oats.
Yeah. Way more fibre.
Way more fibre, way more slow digestion, much more sustained release.
It caught me really bad on last prep. It was our first high day we'd done. I got in shape quite quickly, so me and Hilly started like adding food in quite early into the prep. And it was the first high day we'd done, and I went in train legs. So I had like 3 meals before I got to the gym, train legs, went into my post-workout cardio, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's like blue and red lights flying everywhere. By the time I got home, I was fucking blind. I shit you not, I drove past my driveway, couldn't see a fucking thing. So I had to come in, neck a Lucozade Sport, sit down for a minute, come out of it, then eat my post-workout meal. So all I was doing, just for any future competitors that are in that same situation, is I would freeze my cream of rice so it was like ice cream. Sounds really silly. With melted dark chocolate and protein. I would take it then with me to the gym. So by the time I was finished my cardio, it was defrosted, it was cold still, and I would just eat it. I was fine when I got home.
Something I've been doing lately, because I've been hypo, in prep, my body is so sensitive, I can't touch cream of rice. I can't even put anything in it to slow the digestion down. And I'm sure I pinched this off Cuba. I'm pretty sure Cuba does this. I can't have too many oats. It fucks my digestion. Gluten-free ones, doesn't matter what I do. Soak them overnight. Just doesn't digest well with me, unfortunately. So what I've been doing is getting... AJ wants me to have 70 grams of oats. So I've been doing 50% oats, 50% rice flakes.
Yeah, that's definitely a Cuba trick.
Letting it soak. And actually, it's something I'm going to do all of the time, because the texture is better than the rice flakes on their own. It goes nice and creamy. It tastes nice, and you're getting it's a very clever thing, because you're getting a better sustained release. But oats sit in your stomach heavy before the gym. They just do. They just sit heavy, I find, for most people. Whereas this mixture, and then I've even tweaked mine, so when I'm doing a high day, I'll do 100 grams of rice flakes and 25 grams of oats. When I'm doing a low day, I'll do a 50-50 split. And that seems to be way better on my digestion. It tastes fantastic. Rice flakes have a bit of a gritty, watery texture to them, whereas adding the oats to them give them a much nicer texture. So kudos to my man Cuba there for that, because it's a very clever fucking thing.
Hey,
I find cream of
breaking
rice
news for the podcast, lads.
I know.
So Abiad's just posted saying, we live in an age where I owe it to all of you who follow and support Hostile supplements. I've uploaded a statement about Justin Shearer and Nathan Epler leaving Hostile. Justin's like the big man
people
there,
have to go if the money's somewhere else. They have to go, innit?
Yeah.
It's just life.
Business is business, isn't it?
Quite a few people, hasn't he? Like Nick and Nathan.
Bro, why do you think, bro?
Brett.
'Cause they're coming on my podcast.
He gives them the platform, though, doesn't he? Like, that's the sad thing. Like, it was always like at academy football when I was a kid. Like, you'd have one amazing team in like the county leagues, which were our team, and then what would happen is we would get to the top of the league, about to win the league, and then all the academies would just poach all the players.
Yeah, but like you've got to think about it, bro. Let's just say, yeah, I'm playing for Coventry City, yeah? That's my hometown, everything. Manchester United come. I'm like, yo, I can give my mum and dad 500,000.
Yeah, I know.
Bro. I can get my wife this. I can get this. I get my kids that. Like, yeah, fuck them. No,
I wouldn't have think. I wouldn't have thought so.
but then again, lads.
I have heard he pays less than other people.
Yeah.
But you know what it is though, Hilly. You got to think like companies like Muscle Tech. Even though we don't rate them, they are a massive brand, and they will pay the dollar, bruv. Especially like BSN.
But it's Yamamoto.
Kind of
They're the ones that pay everyone stupid salaries. They're the highest paying.
But they can.
Really?
Yeah.
Any more questions, boys?
Right. Next question. Dumbest exercise.
Oh, this one with a dumbbell. Like, what are you fucking doing? Like, there's no load on your delts. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, what are you trying to warm up here? You know, when they stand there with the dumbbells
warm up, innit?
and they do this, but they're trying to do a rotator cuff, but there's no load. You need to do it on
the actual way to do that is
I go that way, from here, up and out. Not square. I go up that like a Y raise.
To what I know, the correct way to do that is you lie on a bench, so this side is down, and then you do it.
Yeah, because that's it. Because you're loading it. That's like the cable works. Because it's pulling on the rotator cuff. So you're doing it, but doing this, like, there's no load. You're moving a dumbbell out. You know.
But I think I do it like the way I said, and I do it standing, and I do it like that as well. I don't know if it mentally just helps me, but
I'd probably throw a 5k pay at you if I saw you do that.
You know what? I think the best way to do this for a warm up is to actually do those cuffed. What are they called? Like crucifix.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
The dumbest exercise.
I know another really good one. The sitting sideways on a plate loaded chest press. You know this one?
No, I disagree with you, bro. I disagree with you, man.
Nah, don't do that to me, Riz.
No, you trying to tell me, bro?
Let's not fall out, bro. Come on, let's not fall out.
Bro, listen.
We'll start scrapping.
Bro, what's wrong with it though? You're just changing the machine.
Yeah, it's because of the way the pec works. Like the fibers are this way, so you need to come into a stretch position and pull it out. There's no stretch here. You're just
No,
pushing.
but I think
But
the
just
thing is, look,
because you can contract your bicep like this doesn't mean it's growing.
but bro, I don't do it, yeah, but I've done it in the past, yeah. But bro, if you press normally, your pec is that squeezed, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you twist, you can get your pec even more squeezed because your bicep pushes against your chest.
Yeah, but
This
isn't doing anything. But if I do this all day, I'm not going to grow a pec.
But bro, it's about the feel, bro. It's about the tension, the mind-muscle
I
connection.
think if you're warming up, to trying to get that mind-muscle connection, but as an exercise, I wouldn't do it just because of stability as well, because you haven't got the stability to actually load it to any extent.
Well, the pec's loaded at this point, isn't it? Like here. So when it's stretched, but if you turn to the side, like here, there's no stretch because you're sat on the pad like this.
No, but it's stretching more, bro.
That's not.
That's training the inner pec, bro. It's training the inner pec.
No, don't fucking start that shit. You get the guys at the plate doing this, doing their inner pecs.
I do that for the inner.
You actually?
No, I don't do that, but I've done it in the past.
I tell you the most stupidest thing I've ever seen. Do you know when you see girls on the Stairmaster and they kick their leg out backwards?
That's a retarded one, bro.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some proper stupid ones. The
I'll give
RDL.
you a stupid exercise that is a traditional exercise that everyone does. The flat barbell bench press. I tore my fucking pec on it, and I think that is the stupidest exercise. It's just an ego lift, and it's unless you're a competitive powerlifter, you have no fucking business doing it.
I'm honestly gonna piss a lot of people off right now. I do them myself, but this is the honest truth, right? Yeah. Dan Bassett's probably gonna come through that door and slice me. Bro, listen.
Mate, don't talk about a deadlift, bro.
Bro, listen. Risk to reward ratio. The deadlift is like down here, bruv. I honestly think you could get more back development doing any of the back movement, bruv.
100%. 100%.
The risk to reward ratio, bro.
Listen, if you built short arms, long arms, like if you got the right levers, I think it's great. Like for me, I got long as fuck arms. Like for me, it's a great exercise.
But bro, I can do the deadlift and I do it, yeah. But bruv, the risk to reward ratio is fucking nuts, bruv.
I think a good example of that is if you watch Ian Valliere do a deadlift, comparable to 99% of people in the gym, you can see why they benefit him. Like he's built like a gorilla. His deadlift almost looks like a rack pull. Where his arms are so long and I'm assuming his legs are short, he's almost in a rack pull position, so it's all back. Does that make sense? He squats through and pulls through his back. But
that's how
I'm not built like that. I can't do that, you know.
It's almost like a stiff leg.
Yeah.
I watched a podcast with some very, very top American football coaches, and they said that they do not allow any athletes at all ever to deadlift. They said in terms of risk to reward, it is the worst exercise on the planet. But obviously that is from a performance athletic approach. But they said that the muscle stimulation that you get compared to other things that you can do, and then when you look at the risks that come into it, it is the worst exercise on the fucking planet.
The way I think of it is it transfers into so much other shit, right? If you can pull 7 plates off the floor,
Definitely.
you can row 5.
Yeah.
You can, any fucking machine, you're maxing that out.
But you know what it is, bro?
It transfers into squats so much. You can hack squats fucking like 100 plates.
It's just fun. I think it teaches you how to train hard and heavy doing the deadlift.
I agree with that.
I think it's important that I think once you get to a certain level, there isn't much benefit in it, personally. And I think that's why a lot of people branch into RDLs and stiff legs and other stuff, because there is variations of it that you can do that create more stimulation. But I think in general, doing a deadlift teaches you how to have fun progressing weight, how to pick heavy shit off the floor. It learns your body to move and to stand and to build core strength, and it just teaches you to rip shit off the floor and train hard. But I do think once you get good and strong at it, and you're pulling 5, 6, 7, 8 plates, I think that there's other things you can do that will cause the same stimulation or more, without having to try and pull 8 plates and risk all of the issues that come with it. Because fact is, once you are pulling that much weight, there is so much chance of a bad fucking issue. And then the CNS, the CNS.
That's what I was going to say.
The build-up of stress on your tendons, on everything. There's so much there that you might get from pulling 7 plates compared to RDLing 4 or 5 plates.
Look at Dan after that 400 kilo deadlift. He was fucked for like 2 weeks, man.
So Dan tore his patella slightly doing it.
There you go.
This is what I mean. Look, no disrespect, Dan. I love Dan to bits.
He couldn't move. He couldn't actually move for 2 days. He was he genuinely couldn't move. He was sat on the sofa. He said he felt fine, and he said he was sat on the sofa, and his door went somewhat for a delivery, and he tried to get up, and he couldn't get up. He was like he was literally like paralyzed, not paralyzed, but you know.
Yeah.
I love Dan to bits. He's got one of the best backs in the UK, right? He's fucking like slabs. But that movement is not for everyone. He has mastered that. And I think some people, they just can't get away with it. Like, what's his name? Conor Fairbairn don't do deadlifts. He's got a good back.
Oh, yeah. I don't think you need... But there is... With the big deadlifters and the big squatters, there is a difference in their back development. If you take Conor's back and Dan's back, they're both fantastic backs. But Dan has a level of density for his erectors that Conor will not have. But Conor also has should we say a prettier back, maybe up top, like he has wide lats, bulging rear delts, good traps, all that sort of stuff. So they look different. And the same with like Holland Head's legs. Like his legs are just ridiculous, like dense, round, comparable to someone like Rafael Brandeau's, who are not as big, but they're massive, and it's just laced with detail and lines because he does a lot of high volume stuff, you know.
But Conor does barbell rows, so I think they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
I think it's either or.
Yeah.
I think the deadlift is an emotional attachment exercise. If you're like myself, I don't like at the minute the way I've designed my split. I'm like, right, I'm gonna pull the deadlift out. I'm not always trying to look at somewhere. Like I'm like, right, where can I put it? Because I've got an emotional attachment because I've always done it, and I think Danny's exactly the same way. And people that deadlift will have that, and we all have an emotional attachment to some exercise. I'm sure. Right.
Man was deadlifts until I slipped my discs, man. Until I tore my pec in my disc, I loved to deadlift. I worked up to 6.5 plates. It was the staple in my exercise, in my back workout, just because it was how I tested my strength. What I loved to do, I enjoyed doing it, I felt comfortable doing it, and I was good at the fucker. And it pained me to no end to not be able to do it anymore. It was a real psychological kick in the fucking balls.
I think one of the most underrated movements, you don't see many guys do it anymore, and me and Matt do it now. I've always done, even when he didn't put it in, I still did it. Front raise with a dumbbell. One of my favourite movements, that is. Because I think, bro, when you hit the rear back double bicep shot and your front delt's bulging.
I do a lot of front raises because I don't do any chest pressing. So I need to make sure I hit my front delts properly.
I really, really like them.
I've never done a front raise, I don't think, in my life, but then mine are massive because I was terrible at benching. Like when I hit, like mine are like little tumours on the front when I hit most muscular, but it's because I've never been able to train my chest properly, you know, it's just all front delt.
I tell you actually, not a dumb exercise, yeah, but I do it, but a lot of people, they abuse it. And I said it before on Instagram, loads of people like my thing. I wrote, when someone turns to the side and does a fucking side tricep or side chest, they're doing 6-plate RDL, but they've got no hamstring.
Yeah. As soon as people realise this was a pivotal moment for me, I watched a silly video by Dean White, which was like, and it was just off the chance I was watching on YouTube a few years back, and me and Hilly knew my hamstrings were pathetic. It was just a simple fact of just treat your hamstring like a bicep, and almost shorten that ROM nice and controlled, get a good squeeze on it, and ever since then, and since I focused on more of the fluffier stuff, my hamstring's just blown up. Because you're right, Riz, I was doing the RDLs, all the stupidly heavy shit, and the only thing that was growing was my erectors.
When you think about it,
that now there's that thing where people are taught that you don't need deadlifts, you don't need to squat, you don't need to bench. Like the bench I can understand, but I think it teaches people to not train hard because these are the movements that teach you how to train hard.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless you've gotten under a 4-plate squat on a barbell, don't talk about fucking training hard.
It's It's a
I
mind
don't care
gaming thing, isn't it?
how many plates you hack squat on a fucking hack squat.
Bro, when I was younger, all we did was deadlift, bench, and squat.
Snap.
Right.
Two
For
rep
like,
maxes the whole session, just trying to kill each other. That's all we did.
bro, for like a year. I remember when I first joined up with Hilly, and we did our first prep together. He goes, "What you doing?" I goes, "I'm gonna do a 4-plate squat," and I was 2 weeks out. He was like, "No, you're not," and I goes, "Yeah, I am." And I did like 11 reps, and I was 2 weeks out. But that's what built my legs.
If any of you seen these two little nutcases on YouTube called the Trend Twins,
Yeah.
Oh,
bro,
mental,
they are
bro.
fucking hilarious. Honestly, mate, they just kill me. Like, they are literally a pair of idiots. Like, they've got the IQ of a kettle. Like, they are literally retarded, but they are hilarious. And they said it the other day, and it's so true. In the first 2 years, the ego lifter will always grow more than the science person. 100% of the time. The people that slang weights, because, like you said, Chuds, like getting under a 4 or 5 plate squat, that's a mind game thing. Once you can do that every time and be confident to lift it, kicking 70k dumbbells up is nothing. Do you know what I mean? Picking a 20k dumbbell up to bicep curl is nothing. Loading the hamstring curl is nothing. It all becomes like minuscule to those bigger lifts, you know?
It's why I always say it's what everybody misses now. Everybody's got too much access to social media and the complicated shit, and no one's gone to the gym with their mates and said, right, let's see who can bury let's see who can bury each other first. Can you do 100 reps with that? Can you do that for 1 rep? No, none of these kids have gone to the gym with their mates and just tried to fucking bury each other and see who can last the longest. They haven't gone and had that fun times. They've watched the complicated shit. They've gone in to try and overcomplicate it, and they've missed the fucking board. Big style.
I bet they've never done a Friday night t-shirt pump session. Big biceps.
Church, I'll give it to you, bro. When you say the emotional attachment, right? Yeah, I agree with you, bro. You know why? Because I have to do the T-bar every day. Jamie bought new fucking handles for the T-bar, just so I'd use it differently. I still grab it with my hands like this. It got a £100 prime piece.
But it works though, doesn't it?
Bro, I like it.
This is the thing, right? Back what Hilly just said. It's like, you know, back when we first started out, you go to the gym with your mates and you're like, right, we're going to train chest. And you're like, right, flat bench, incline bench, decline bench.
Flies.
Then we're going to do flies.
Yeah.
Then you go to dumbbell flies. Then you go to like dumbbell inclines, and you do like 17 exercises. Hammer so much fucking volume. You're fucked by the end. But you've trained fucking hard, and then you come back next week and you do it again.
Yeah, and your nutrition ain't even on point at that point when you're that young, bro.
No, but it doesn't matter. You still progress because you're just training fucking hard. And you're having fun.
Training hard, because you're training fucking hard. Whereas now everybody's too busy micromanaging shit, worrying about the form, and they haven't been to the gym and been buried by the mates yet, so they don't even know.
Problem is, you got too many fucking idiots in Ultraflex doing that shit, and they look like dog shit.
You know how many people, it kills me. I know Hilly hates the standing chest supported one. Do you know how many people do that movement wrong? Like, it scrambles my fucking brain. It's like the equivalent of, imagine getting a dumbbell, right? And curling to here and squeezing the bicep really hard and thinking that's full ROM. They come into their hip and they're almost like frozen, and they go here and they stop. Your lat pulls through. Like, go all the way through your fucking hip, you lunatic. Like, why are you stopping at half ROM? I correct so many people on it.
Argue that you don't want to involve your rear delts and your teres and that, but that's gonna come into the. Plus, that's not a bad thing, is it? I don't see that as a bad thing that you're involving other muscles.
I did a video on my Instagram showing, right, I watch people set up the hammer strength 1-arm row, and I watch PTs do it with girls, and these girls have like 2 and 3 plates on it, and they have it because they use 2 arms to pull it out of the heaviest part of the range, and then they stand there and they just move it through the easy part.
The weight comes off.
Yeah,
that comes off the floor, so they pull it off the floor where it's hard, and then they use loads of weight in the short range, and I'm like, the machine is built through a range, through an arc, to make it difficult. Why are you using 2 fucking hands to move it where it's difficult, so you can move it when it's easy in one? Why not just lower the weight and move it through difficult through the whole fucking range? It's like, and this is like 8 stone ringing where girls doing this shit, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
That's what people talk.
And they're pulling it like 2 inches.
Yeah,
Any more questions, boys?
Yeah, I've got a good one from one of my favourite people in the industry, IFBB Pro Zara Bradley, Small But Mighty. She is a legend. She said,
She
"Why?"
really is. She really is.
Yeah, she's nuts. And if you ever watch that bird train, it is fucking terrifying. Like it is
Is that
terrifying.
Evolution's? Is that
Yeah,
Evolution's
full
client?
mic.
Oh
She
yeah,
trains up
I know you're on about.
my
Yeah.
gym. Yeah, she's nuts.
She's got an unbelievable physique and training ethos, man. It's unbelievable.
nuts.
She's
Next
so
level.
impressive. She is. She is.
She said, "Why do you think the bigger categories like women's physique and women's bodybuilding are dying out?" And I know there's a group of them that are quite passionate about this, and I get it. I do.
Because it's easy to be a bikini girl. That's the fucking truth, isn't it?
I think what you just said, like girls would start the gym and then 6 months later they're doing a prep and they're prepping for bikini, right? And it's fashionable, it's cool to be a competitor. But I still think there's a place for women's physique and women's bodybuilding.
I prefer women's physique to all of them. It's my favourite one.
I do too.
But
And they get fucking peeled.
But it's because of who we are. Like we said about going to our mates and getting ruined at the gym. Like we fell in love with the gym for that reason, which was training hard. I think I don't think it's anything that's against that category. I think the problem is the whole industry has shifted now. Like how many times now do you go into a gym and see a true monster, a 280-pound guy that's peeled out his brains? You fucking don't. What you do see is 19 fucking 140-pound kids posing like Chris Bumstead with a mustache and wearing matching clothes as him. And I think it's the same in the women's categories. It's like, this is the end game. This is where you should want to get to, but it's just far easier to stop at point one and get a social media following and make some money from coaching. But I think there's always going to be people who love it for the right reasons. But unfortunately, because of the way it's going, those volumes are just decreasing and decreasing.
I think as well, one of the things as well is the fact of the matter is, as time goes on, the percentage increases of people that are just into this for the social media side of it. There is high amounts of people that if Instagram died tomorrow would never fucking step on stage ever again. And that percentage is increasing. And the fact of the matter is, you are not getting the likes and the popularity and the offerings of sponsorship or your mates telling you look great in an off season working towards women's physique or even trained figure or those bigger categories. And the fact of the matter is, most people are all about getting likes, getting, and there's nothing wrong with that, feeling better about yourself. But being big and fluffy and looking outside of the normal isn't what gets you likes and that. And I just think that those categories are never going to be popular, because it's not how most people want to look. Not on stage, it's the off season. It's what it takes to get there. And that comes back to what you're saying, Dick. The people into bodybuilding, the men's open, the 212, the women into these classes, those are always going to be the ones that got into this shit because they love the fucking train. They love the determination, the hard work, the dedication it requires to build muscle, and they will do whatever it takes to get there. But they're limited. The rest of the people are into it because they want to look good on a night out, they want to look good in the clothes, and they want loads of attention on Instagram. And fact of the matter is, you are not getting the same interaction on your pictures looking big, fluffy, and uncomfortable in an off-season, particularly as a female. It's all right for a bloke to be big and watery and puffy, and this is the same. This is why normal lads don't ever look any different in Ibiza every year, because normal lads, they don't want to push to gain the extra muscle. They don't want to look like shit outside. Girls don't want to, when a girl comes to me and she's like, oh, well, I want to gain muscle, and then they realise what, and I'll take I'll use an example of quite a very good bikini girl and show them in the off season, and they go, that's not what you look like in the stage pictures. I just want to look like the stage pictures. And I'm like, yes, but that's not how you have to look all year to get there. And 90% of people, especially females, are not interested, because for us, for a bloke getting big and fluffy, it's sound. You put a fucking cardigan on or a jumper or a tight t-shirt and everybody still pats you on your back and say, fucking hell, mate, you're massive, you've gained some tissue. Where for a female, having spent over a decade working with adults and children, with females in different settings medically, it is not nice or rewarding for a female to be getting heavier and fluffy, and you don't get the same pats on the back and you don't get the same likes. So I think that, for me, I think that's a huge limiting side of it for a lot of people.
I think very few females have got the courage and the bollocks to do it. Because out of all of my 7 clients, only one female's allowed me to push her up. And when she has pushed up and come back down, the rest of them, oh, she looks wicked. I'm like, yeah, because she got a little bit soft. But not everyone's going to do that.
That's a big thing, isn't it? Female clients, it fucks with their head, a lot of them.
But I think if
they're
you're
weight gaining, they freak out.
Honestly,
but I think
sorry.
I think like the female client of mine who did really, really well on it, and she looks mega now. She's already got she's already engaged, so her partner's doesn't care what she looks like. He's always going to love her no matter what. Do you know what I mean? So for her, she don't really give a fuck what she looks like on a night out because she's got a man at home. I think if you're single, you're on the pull all the time, you don't really want to get out of shape.
But I think that demographic of the newest generation of females in the gym are one of the worst things that's happened to the gyms at the moment. And this is not like an insult to them. It's just the way they parade around the gym. And it's not just like because, oh, I'm bigger than everyone there. It's even to like other dudes who are just trying to do get their training session in, or dads who just want to stay fit and healthy. The way they parade around like they own the place when they don't have an ounce of muscle, but they've just bought their new matching Gymshark outfit and followed Courtney King on fucking Instagram. It blows my mind. It really does.
Bro, I go to a gym up here, right? It's a good gym. It's called Physique Evolution. And it is a good gym. It's got loads of Panata kit, yeah. But when you go in there, like, I'm not being a dick, yeah. The men ain't allowed to pose with their tops off. But a woman can work around with a little boob tube. Them little what them call them little proper little shorts.
Yeah.
They're like pants, bruv. They walk around like that, and it's totally sound. And they've all probably been at the gym for like 3 months.
But there is also, on the flip side of that, there is nothing more impressive than watching a female absolutely get after it at the gym. Like I said to Daisy, I came in the other day. She probably never watched this, but there was a young girl in the gym. She can't be any older than 21. And I sat there, but was blown away by it. She came in, all the kit, big jumper on, squat shoes, load up 20k plate, did the most perfect technique squat I'd ever seen. One of the best. Then another plate. I was like, she ain't going to do another one. And she got 3 plates tied in for like a good 5. Like that to me is more impressive than I see from like half the 99% of men I see in there who run loads of gear. They look half in decent nick, you know what I mean? So it's not a slate on females in general. Like I think they're super impressive when they get after it. I just dislike the newbies that are just pretending.
What is Caitlin Hill? What is her? She's Physique, isn't she?
Yeah, she's mental, mate.
She's fucking sick.
Is Christian coaching her now? Yeah. Is that her?
No.
Caitlin's got an unbelievable physique.
You look. Ed, I'm sure she trains around your area, Deck. House of Gains. I think she's got one of the best female physiques.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
She does.
She's
only young.
Honestly,
Kamara Jane, that girl, she looks nuts, mate.
Oh, she's good as well.
Yeah, Kamara looks awesome at the moment. Awesome, actually unbelievable.
Yeah,
the progress she's made in the last 12 months has been mind blowing at me. 6 to 12 months.
I think she's with that Christian guy. I know he will definitely pump her full of food. Like he don't mess around when it comes to eating.
Like, come on, guys. How can anyone say this is not impressive, man?
Oh, it's off. That Caitlin's physique is so impressive because the tissue that she carries and the shape and the structure, yet she looks so feminine. And I see on her Instagram she still has a decent social life. She's always doing stuff with her friends. Looks dead feminine and girly in her going out clothes and that.
Wicked.
She's not like hooked up into bodybuilding, mooching about in baggy clothes, not doing anything else. Just for me, it's very impressive to see someone.
I agree.
Ticking all of the boxes, living all of the life, looking super feminine on nights out, going to raves, having a good time, smashing the fucking gym, smashing the competing. She's not letting one side take over the other. It just looks like she's having a good time.
And she's still one of the best in the UK.
Exactly. Oh, mate, so impressive.
Any more questions, boys?
I got another one here.
So I answered this yesterday, but I want to see what you guys think. I'm on TRT, last bloods, showing my progesterone, prolactin, and cortisol high, and everything else is in range. What can cause it and how to combat it? I want to see what you guys think.
Stress,
poor diet.
Illness.
There's so many factors. Yeah, I had this with one of my clients. It actually ended up he had like a viral infection, and he went on some really, really harsh antibiotics. It was like 7-day course. And we got them done again. His prolactin came back in range.
viral infection, illness can spike all of those. But also, if the cortisol is super high, it can increase the other two. So I would be looking first to use something like Train by JP, Unwind.
Ashwagandha, something like
yeah, to bring that down. See if that had an impact, and I'd be getting a full blood count done if he hasn't done, to maybe see if his lymphocytes and stuff are low, to see if he's fighting a viral infection.
How high is the
He might be
prolactin?
ill.
What's the number?
Didn't say.
That's what, some people they have it a little bit high and they think that it's fucking high.
That's true. Well, do you know what I said to him? Firstly, I said, look at your estrogen. What is your estrogen at? Because obviously,
They actually work very much.
And I said to him, look, right, if your natural levels are, let's say, 4, and your doctor puts you on TRT, and now you're 24, well, you got to expect that other stuff is going to elevate as a result, because like testosterone has so many functions and it converts to so much other stuff that you can't expect just testosterone to go up and everything else to be in range.
No, but usually what happens is if your estrogen's high, then that converts to the prolactin being high and stuff. So
that's what I thought.
What would make me say, if he's saying everything else is in range, I'm presuming
cortisol.
Tests in range, E2's in range, but then the prolactin and the progesterone is out of range. And if that's the case, that makes me think it's either viral or cortisol. Whereas if his E2's high as well, then my answer would be like yours, Chudely. He needs to bring his E2 back down, and then the prolactin and progesterone will fall in line.
Yeah.
Use a little bit of vitamin B6, P5P. Use some of that ashwagandha right pre-bed. You can use a few other things. I remember Hilly had a massive list of it.
You can only use that before starting a cycle, isn't it? That's what I've been told.
You can use it while you're on it, bro. What they say is use the P5P here, like 3 weeks before your cycle, so you get your prolactin down. Because then you're going to put the gear in, and it's not going to go over the range. It'll go from low to mid.
Right. Okay.
Another question.
Did you have a good one?
If you could have any pros physique at the moment, whose would it be? Good answer, Hilly.
I'm such a huge fan of Sass's physique. It's off it. Just even now, just how he looks now. I put a picture of him in the group to use the other day. His waist to his chest to his delts to his arms. I'm just such a fucking fan of how.
I've still got the New York Pro video of him posing in those red trunks saved on my Instagram video, and I still watch it all the fucking time because I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
Any pro.
Any pro.
That's such a hard question.
Yeah, I got the easiest answer. I'm going John Jewett. I'm going John Jewett. Nothing to do with physique, just so I can bum his wife.
Or any current pro? Is it any current pro?
My missus stood there with a minute pro.
It was current pro, yeah. Any current pro, I think.
Wait, do you get entire life? So I can say like Chris Bumstead, and I get his fucking money and all that shit. And
nah, you just get a physique.
Oh, okay.
Keon does it for me. My man just too sick, bro. I don't care, man. He might not be the champion, but he's too sick.
It is actually mad that I was looking at his videos the other day, and when you see it, you think, how is he not Mr. Olympia? Like, it actually scrambles my brain a little bit.
Bro, I think if he comes in shape, he will.
But I don't know. I feel like he gets lost in a lineup. And I don't know why, because when he's on his own, he's phenomenal, and he's often phenomenal. But he was in that top 5 lineup, and he didn't look like a winner. Like, next to Sean Clarida and that... is it a Kerith guy? Kerith Banjo?
That random guy, yeah.
He didn't look as wow, you know?
But the thing is, Dex, some guys look really good in pictures.
Yeah.
And as soon as they go next to someone...
shows their flaws.
You've got to remember, though, he's still 202, so he's still got 10 pounds to put on.
But did you think what I thought? And this could just be me being cynical as hell. When he came out in that guest pose, that was the first sign to me that he was starting to blow his waist a little bit. When he was relaxed, like his midsection is not as tight as it once was, and he's got that thing that Ronnie Coleman had. You know where the abs open up, they're starting to separate. So I don't know if he can afford to push another £10, but
is it me or is it a lot of Patrick Chill's guys end up blowing the waist?
Yeah, but he's so low drugs and stuff, isn't he? Like I don't get it.
Any more questions?
Well, we didn't finish that question. Deck, what's your answer?
I said I'll pick John Jewett just so I can bum his wife.
What was you, Chuds? I thought you said C-bum.
No, fuck no.
Do you know why you couldn't pick C-Bun? Because no matter how good he is, when he wears a t-shirt, he still looks like a football player.
Don't do that, bro. I look the same. I look even smaller, bro.
Nah, you look jack, bro.
Yeah, mate, mate, on stage he's fucking phenomenal, but I just don't like bodybuilders with small arms. That's I've picked the bodybuilder with the biggest fucking arms.
Rolly Winkler.
Rolly.
Like Nick Walker. Nick Walker is my favourite bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Really?
I just love
And
Nick
mine.
Walker.
And mine.
Really? Fucking hell, man.
Nick Walker to me is the epitome of why I fell in love with bodybuilding. Like that look of what is that is what I've always loved about bodybuilding.
Yeah. I just look at that and I'm like, I'd love to look like that.
Even down to the varicose veins.
Bro, I'd love those. I mean, like, I don't know. I just think, like, it's not just that. It's more like how he carries himself. Right.
It's
Any
just
more
all
questions?
about the work. Yeah, I think that's it for questions, isn't it?
Who did Hilly say? Sass.
Sass.
No, I'm surprised no one said Samson.
I'm a huge Samson fan.
Yeah, I've got no more questions.
Oh, you got no more questions?
Well, it's getting late for me, boys, so I could do calling it a day, to be honest. I need to eat and send my way to
Last question, then we all go.
Huh?
Last
One more
question, then
question.
we all go because I got to eat as well. I got 2 more meals.
Yeah, so do I. Let's see. Right, that's a weird one. What's your sex life look like as a competitive bodybuilder? I don't know how it makes a difference being a bodybuilder.
It literally doesn't fucking happen, mate. It just doesn't work. Nothing works until Hilly put M-Tren in, then it started working like firing all cylinders.
I think they're probably meaning when you're in prep. So for me, the last 4 to 6 weeks, it doesn't even cross my mind at all.
Same.
At all. No, just doesn't. I've previous girlfriends, or when I got with Charlotte, I remember getting close to that 6-week mark and being like, listen, just so you know, because of the way the drugs work, sex ain't going to cross my mind at all at all. It's just not. And it's not because I'm cheating you or anything, but it just, once your E2 gets to a certain point, it just doesn't cross your mind.
Do you think it's not just the drugs? Because I can run the same cycle in an off season and have perfect sex drive. I think it's more when you get into prep, you have that tunnel vision of, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. So it's more
Your mind's
that
all over.
Yeah. I just don't think about it.
I also think it's food related as well, because like I said, mine did start working again, but that was at the point when like I was only having refeed days. Like there's something to do with the fats, I believe, that promote that hormonal response where things start to work. So I think when you're heavily depleted, it just doesn't happen. But I think when you get a good bit of scran,
I think post-show was the first time I had a random hard on in about fucking 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, I bet.
But is
Just
that
'cause I
because
had
your
freedom.
stress is down? You're like, right, I'm done with this.
I think it's because I'd just eaten a Biscoff donut before AJ told me I wasn't getting a free.
That's
We're
why,
gonna edit that
that's
out.
why he had the hard on. It was actually the fucking the Biscoff. That's what it was. He was aroused.
Yeah.
I've always been alright.
No, not me. That's because you haven't been dying hard enough, kid. I'm joking.
Bro, me and you next year, we're gonna settle, bro. We're gonna settle it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
You're
kick
shag.
you.
You were. We'll fight
But
on stage.
honestly, I was running DMP. I was on full cycle. Yeah, and I was sound 2 days out.
I think it's like anything else as well. It's going to be person dependent, isn't it? Like one of my good mates who I prepped said he was shagging the night before the show. I was like, mate, I couldn't think of nothing worse.
Yeah, I was chatting
That's
to Joe
what Craig
Bollinger as well,
said.
and he said the same thing to me, that he goes at it all the way through prep.
That's what Craig, Craig Madden, he said that to us on to me and Ryan. He said like he fucked his missus the night before.
Who's Craig Madden?
I love how
Blade
Jody
online
says it.
coaching.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
You know him?
with the long hair.
I've
Yes.
run all that big Hercules looking motherfucker that Callum coaches.
No. That's Craig Morton.
Yeah, that kid shouldn't be on this planet. I actually
he
said
don't?
I walked past him at the
Sorry
two
about
bros.
fucking Arnold, mate. He is fucking mental.
I walked past him at the two bros, and the first thing I said to him was, "I hope you got a small penis."